Oh man, let's talk about Seabound.
SPI.
Man, it has been a crazy week. For those of you that don't know me, I'm SPI. I make videos here on this channel and also my main channel, SPI Studios, where I do mainly Ninjago stop motions. And I also have another channel called SPI Ministries, where I just made it, so I haven't posted on there yet, but I'll post like messages related to the Bible. So if that interests you, check that out there. Here's also my Instagram, @spi.studios. It has been a crazy week. I just announced that new channel, SPI Ministries, on my birthday on Tuesday, and that was pretty awesome. And then the day after that, I ended up going to the ER that night, feeling some chest pain in my chest, not really sure what it was. Turns out it wasn't anything serious, and so now I'm just back resting, and I was surprised that the entire rest of the season of Ninjago Seabound was released on YouTube. And in this video, I'm just going to talk all about it before I get into spoilers. I'm going to ask you this question because it is very, 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 infinitely very important. When I was in the ER, something that came to my mind, something that I realized is that if I died, I knew that I would go to heaven. But tomorrow is never guaranteed. We don't know if we'll live tomorrow. And so if you died tonight, would you go to heaven or would you go to hell? I believe that there's a God who created the whole universe and he sent his son, Jesus, to die for you. We all sin, we all disobey God, and we all need a savior. And Jesus Christ came down to this earth, lived a perfect life, died for our sins, and was raised back to life. So do you believe that? And if you have any questions about that, I would be happy. I'm more than willing to talk to you about that. And so I just ask you again, do you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ? Is he your Savior and Lord? So I just encourage you to sit on that thought, write that down, think about it, pray about it, and now let's get into spoilers of Ninjago Seabound. And also spoilers for the other seasons. First of all, okay. I'm just gonna, if you haven't watched the ending, click off of this video right now. I might make a separate video on this. But Nia's off the team? Like, I was not expecting that at all. I was expecting the season to end just as all the previous Wild Brain, I think that's what they're called, seasons would end. Because all of them end with, oh, the ninja, there's a lot of action, they're fighting this villain, there's this thing that happens in the finale, and then they're back to where they started the season. Season 11 starts out, well, I don't really have to describe how it starts out, just ninja hanging out. Season ends with they defeat the Ice Emperor. Zane has literally, I was talking to Michelo Studios about this, and he brought up this great point of Zane was an evil Ice Emperor for like 50 years, torturing people, all this stuff, and then just becomes Zane again, goes back to normal. Everything's normal again, no consequences. Season 12, Prime Empire. There's like this video game that like merges with the real world and like what are the consequences of that, and Unagami and like what's going to happen to him. But no, he just goes back with Milton Dyer and the ninja just go back to the monastery and just everything ends peacefully, no consequences again. Season 13, as much as I loved it, as much as I loved Cole's season, he got the Spinjitzu burst. That was awesome. I guess the big consequence is that Vanya's dad's in jail, but like that's not a big consequence for the ninja. That was all disappointing for me, that all of these seasons have not ended with consequences. The Island didn't do it, although I really did love the Island. I honestly don't think the Island would have worked as a season, and I might make a separate video about this. I'm thinking about doing another ranking video, probably two, honestly, because I did a ranking video a while back. And that video, I ranked all the seasons up to season 11. And so it was like all the 11 seasons ranked from worst to best, in my opinion at least, just my opinion. And so I think I'm going to make two other videos about that. The first one is all the seasons from season 1 to season 14, 15, whatever you want to call it, Seabound. And then the second one, I think I'm going to rank the specials. So there's Day of the Departed, there's the island, and there's the pilots. And those are all like 44 minutes. So I think it'd be cool to rank like all 3 of those in a separate video as well. So if you guys want that, let me know down in the comments if you wanted me to do another ranking video of the specials and also the seasons. So the main thing that I really, really liked about Seabound is that it finally had consequences. This finale was definitely one of the best Ninjago finales, at least in my opinion, that we have gotten in a while because of that. I really loved Cole's Spinjitzu burst scene from season 13, but it didn't have consequences. A lot of other times in Ninjago, the ninja have encountered a situation, even in this season, they were stuck on the island. I'm like, you can easily get off the island, just summon your elemental dragons, come on. But they didn't do that, and they still found a way to get off the island, so that didn't really matter. But like, they have to go over like a bridge or something, or they're like stuck somewhere, and it's like, just use your elemental dragons, or you can't stop this villain, just use the tornado of creation, do that. But in the end, when Wajira was summoned, it didn't seem like they could summon the tornado of creation and stop her. It didn't seem like that could do it. It didn't seem like elemental dragons or elemental powers or any of this stuff could stop her. It seemed like the only thing that could stop Wajira was Nia merging with the water. And I loved that. How it wasn't just, oh, we're just gonna, forget about the stuff in the past. Like, even if Cole did his Spinjitzu burst, I don't know if that would have stopped Wajira. Like, I think this was the only thing that could have. And also, how they had Jay in this position where he was about to die, probably. If Nia didn't have, I'm thinking about my time in the ER. Oh, man. It wasn't that bad, guys. But it did get me thinking. And so Nia had to make this decision. And that... they did an incredible job with that. Honestly, this whole season has just inspired me to just got me back into Ninjago, I guess. Just talking about it and doing videos. And so I'm not sure how much I'll do because I'm publishing a book next fall. It's called Grey Ninja 2. And so that's the main thing that I'm going to work on. It's the sequel to my first book, Rise of the Grey Ninja, which is an action adventure that focuses on our world. And it's like, what if there's a teenager who became a ninja in a world like our own and fought against a gang? And so if you're thinking like Ninjago, it's kind of like you take the concept of a ninja, but like, what would that look like in our real world? That's what Rise of the Grey Ninja is like. And so I'm working on the sequel for that. That's coming out in the fall. That's the main thing that I'm going to be working on, but I'm going to try to get some YouTube content out there. I want to talk about Kalmar now, though. Honestly, I really want to voice Kalmar for something. I might do a stop motion on SPI Studios where it's just like a fight against Kalmar. I just love his character. I love him as a villain. He's a smart villain. He's also, he reminds me a lot of like Pythor, I guess, kind of in a way, where like Pythor wanted to awaken the Great Devourer and then got eaten by the Great Devourer, and the same thing kind of happened here. And I also just love Wajira in this season. Like, I was like, oh, they're just going to have another snake villain, but no, it worked well. I felt like it worked well, and I like how they tied it into the lore. Sometimes it can be like, oh, they're adding another thing, but I liked how they tied it into everything, and it made sense. It worked, I think, for me. And it was cool because in that finale where Kalmar was attacking Ninjago City, a lot of times it's like, oh, Ninjago City, it's getting attacked again. It's getting destroyed or whatever. But I feel like they did it in a way where it worked this time, where it wasn't just him attacking Ninjago City. They added this water element to the story, and I feel like that worked. And I remember like 2 other times in Ninjago where it really worked for me. It was like Day of the Great Devourer, and also when Garmadon took over the city, and like he took over the city, like it became his after that, which was cool. And I felt like that happened in these 4 episodes, that this finale, like 4 episodes long. Like, I felt like that was awesome. And I love the calm before the storm is kind of just eerie. Very well done. This whole season, very well done. And I'll have to go back and rewatch the first episodes because I know what they're like, but I don't know like the whole flow of the season. And so if I do a ranking video, it'll have to be after I rewatch it, because I still don't know how good this season is flow wise, I guess, like with consistency. I'm thinking about like the Paper Girl episode. I like that episode, and I think it was a good, I guess, sequel to The News Never Sleeps in season 11, but it did feel a little out of place, at least for me, the first time watching it. I'll have to go back and watch it again. Maybe my opinion will change. I think it was more in place than the other one. Oh yeah, another thing that was awesome is I loved how the comedy in this was way better. And even some of the older Ninjago seasons, I love them. I love like Rise of the Snakes and the pilots and a lot of the older stuff. But the comedy sometimes wasn't there. But in this season, there's just some funny like one-liners and just things that they would say. And sometimes they didn't land, like the cookie joke. I wasn't big on that. But like Zane was trying to describe something and he was saying it with like just... he was saying it how Zane would say it. And then Kai's just like, there's too many of them. And Zane was like, that's literally exactly what I just said, Kai. And it was hilarious. Like, I think the comedy was definitely better in this season, and just the emotional moments. Let's talk about like the moment between Jay and Nia, right? Jay, he was like choking on water. I thought he was gonna get out of there himself, but then he was rescued and he was brought to the other ninja. And the only way that he could be saved is if Nia became this like other form. And I feel like that worked super well. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. I love Sensei Wu in this. Like, Sensei Wu is one of my favorite characters, and I think sometimes he's underutilized. But I remember one moment specifically where he's fighting Kalmar, and he like does this thing where he like moves his hat up with his staff, and you can tell like he means business. And I'm just like, oh, that's awesome. Like, yes. I was practically just like cheering when I watched that scene because I love Sensei Wu, and I think that was one of the best moments. And then when Jay like took his staff after Nia was supposedly killed off, but she actually wasn't because she merged with the water and became like this dragon. But when Jay thought that, he like took Sensei Wu's staff and like started like fighting him. And then also, I also like the parallel between Kalmar and Pythor because they were both defeated the same way. They were both defeated by the threat they were trying to bring about to threaten Ninjago. And I also like that Benthamar was the one that defeated Kalmar. At first, I didn't really like his character. It reminded me of Aquaman a little bit. It seems kind of like it's pulling too much from like other things, but I felt like it was good. And it's also like saying like it's an issue relevant today. It's kind of a sad reality. Mitchell was telling me about this. Like, there are some people out there that aren't treated as well because they're adopted, and it's like, man, that's sad. Like, it's kind of a wake-up call, I guess, for us. Like, don't be like Kalmar. Don't treat people like that. Treat people with encouragement and build them up. And so I thought that was cool how the ninja did that, yet Kalmar did not. And so I thought that was also pretty nice how they had that lesson in there when they brought him into their team. And I wonder where his character is going to end up. I think I might mention this in the other video, but I think he could become the next water ninja. Maybe not a ninja specifically, but I hope he's not just sidelined like Pixel becomes sidelined. I hope they develop his character more. We don't know where he came from. We don't know why he's not like the Merlopians. I thought when in the flashback, I was thinking he was going to be a human, and then him being underwater for that long makes him, I guess, blue, gives him that appearance. I didn't think it was a different species, but I think it is. And so I'm pretty sure they're going to explore that. And I don't know what that's going to be exactly, but I hope that they address that pretty soon, because that's, I think, pretty important. You know, they didn't do that with, like, Ultraviolet or Kilo. It's like, why are they gray? Well, some people are just gray in Ninjago. They need to explain Benthamar, I think. Ray and Maya. Let's talk about Ray and Maya returning in this season. This was, I think, another really strong thing about this season. Just not only Ray and Maya, but this tied in so well to the other seasons. Like with the Paper Girl episode. While it might have maybe felt a little out of place, one thing that really worked is how they tied it back from season 11 to this. And while I didn't like season 11 as much, they did well, like kind of making it full circle in that sense of like, yeah, this is still the same world Ninjago as it was a few seasons ago. And they've brought in characters like the Keepers, how the island kind of tied into this. I liked how the Storm Amulet, which had been set up in the previous special, it tied into this very well. Also, Clutch Powers, it completely makes sense that Clutch Powers would switch out the amulets. It's just like, oh yeah, of course. That's something that he would do. And if you go back and you rewatch, I actually did this. Like, I paused the episode, I went back to the island, and I watched the part where Nia, like, kicked Clutch Powers over and, like, the amulet fell out. And it's like, for sure, he could have, like, made a fake amulet or something, like, within that time frame. Maybe he had one on him already, and he had been planning that out. And so when his bag opened, like, the fake one fell out. Oh, here it is. We're going to take that back. But in his bag, there's still a real one. And it was also just nice how Kalmar took that and he used that against the ninja. I thought that whole scene was cool. Like, villains don't usually do that. And it was so unpredictable, which was nice. And then just the fact that Shintaro was in it, just all these ties into other seasons was nice because, like, as I said, they can use some stuff from previous seasons. They could have used the Spinjitzu Burst, dragons, but I feel like this season handled it better than a lot of the other seasons have, where they don't talk about it, because this season, Lloyd was like, yeah, we've dealt with some objects of power, maybe more than once, maybe a lot of times, and we have some friends in high places. I was like, Cloud Kingdom, but Shintaro, like, that makes a lot more sense. And so that was cool how we saw them again. Got to see Cole's crew made a cameo appearance. They're just kind of walking by. And then just the ending of the season, where so many of the characters were brought in. Even Ronan, like, you could barely see him, but Ronan's in there. And Dareth had a scene at one point, which was awesome, just to hear from Dareth and see him on the screen again. Ed and Edna, Jay's parents, were there. It was cool just to see all of them again, hear from all of them again. Even Clutch Power showed up to Nia's funeral, I guess. Yeah, I mean, Nia's still out there. I think she's definitely going to come back. I'll probably make a separate video on this. I think they're definitely building up to something. They've been teasing a Vengestone thing for a while, and shout out to, like, Michelot Studios and Brickfilmer125. I was talking about this with them earlier, and so some of these things are from them, so I'm not going to steal the credit from them. But they were talking about, like, what if they brought in, like, Nauticon, because, like, the Teapot of Tyran, it showed up sometimes, and I'll even, like, probably make a separate video about that. But they've been teasing that. They've been teasing this Vengestone thing. So I think, like, Nauticon might come back if they decide to. Maybe they're building up to this team up between villains and with Vengestone. I think it's going to be like a big event, and they're probably going to bring Nia back for that. Probably going to bring in some allies. Hopefully Ronan. Hopefully Dareth. Hopefully Skylar. Hopefully Pixel does some stuff in the next seasons. Yeah, there's plenty of things that I can talk about. Seabound, I think it's personally my favorite season out of all these Wild Brain seasons. And yeah, what did you guys think about it? Tell me down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to this channel. I post Ninjago videos on here, and then I also have another channel where I do Ninjago stop motions. It's called SPI Studios. So if that interests you, consider subscribing to that channel. Please stick around and subscribe, and if you enjoyed, please throw camera battery at the like button. Hopefully I'll see y'all next time. Ninjago!